Welcome to Countering the Huntress Guide. The Huntress currently lies slightly below average on her kill rates in comparison to other killers. She is however one of the best chase killers in the game, and many countering creators put her in either B or A tier. She also has a high pick rate, which means there's a good chance you'll be facing her. This guide will help you understand how to deal with the Huntress in chases. The topics that will be covered are line of sight, the looping, picking your loop, the flashlight and firecrackers, dodging, what to expect from the Huntress, the hitboxes of the hatchets, and perks and items to run against the Huntress. Line of sight. When playing against the Huntress, your first tool against her is using line of sight to block her hatchet throws. This includes putting objects in between yourself and her as you run away. This is quite useful as the Huntress will often try and zone you, but by putting objects in between you and her, you can deny a huge portion of her power. The looping. When looping the Huntress, there is a good chance that the Huntress will charge up a hatchet in anticipation of you throwing down a pallet, as it would lock you in animation and guarantee the Huntress a free hit. More than often, you can get away with just faking the pallet throw and keep running. The Huntress gets slowed down when she tries to charge up a hatchet, enabling you to loop once more. When having to choose between taking a melee hit or a hatchet, usually you want to take the melee hit as the Huntress has increased cooldown in comparison with a melee hit. Should you take a hatchet to the face close up with a pallet, then run back into her as you will lose collision with her. Most Huntress players will try and follow you very closely, which means you can throw down the pallet for a stun on her. Sometimes you run into scenarios where the Huntress is able to hit you before you even have the chance to throw down the pallet. Your best bet here is to dodge the hatchet by faking the pallet or 316. Once you have dodged a hatchet, some Huntress players will continue to follow through, in which case you can run back into them and knock down the pallet for a stun. Be aware if the Huntress is running any cooldown add-ons here, as it can make the difference between you getting body blocked or getting to the pallet first. This is very strong if there is line of sight loss, as Huntress can't see you doubling back into her. Some Huntress players will also very confidently charge as they walk through the pallet, in which case you can return on them for a stun. Another safe strategy is to drop pallets before she can even contest the pallet. In certain scenarios this is something you'll have to do, but I would advise not doing it too much as your entire team will run out of pallets quickly. If you happen to knock down a pallet, you will sometimes have time to dodge the hatchet, turn to either side and perform a crouch. There's a pretty good chance that this will work. The Huntress might be slightly off with her aim or aiming too high. I have honestly lost count of how many times a random crouch has saved me. When looping the Huntress, pay close attention to any cracks, gaps or windows, as good Huntress players will try and snipe you through them. Here are a bunch of scenarios showing just that.
Oh, nice, well done.
Picking your loop. You want to avoid short and low line loops where the Huntress can easily snipe you.
Oh shit.
Try and find some tall loops where the only time the hatchets are a threat is when you're nearing the pallet pretty much. Big complex structures are also something that the Huntress struggles with, as he suffers from a shorter movement speed bonus compared to the rest of the roster. Even something like the stack castle in Autohaven can be almost impossible to deal with for the Huntress, especially if you can get some ore reads on her. When you have no loops to work with, try and find some tall structures like a collection of rocks or boxes. When running around these boxes, you can effectively avoid a hatchet throw because the loop is so tight and the Huntress can't catch up to you with a charged hatchet. The flashlight and firecrackers. The flashlight can be used against the Huntress when she's about to throw her hatchets. This can be done at pallets or windows and it's a high risk move. If the Huntress wants to hit you with her hatchets, she will take a blind to the face. Keep in mind though that a good Huntress will keep her hatchets charged and look away and just shoot you afterwards. However, it does work way more than it should, most likely because it's unexpected. Firecrackers should be used in a similar fashion. Drop them in anticipation for the Huntress throwing them at windows or pallets. You can also use them when you are in close quarters with the Huntress as he has to look away or take a blind. Dodging. 360ing and being unpredictable is a strong tool against the Huntress. You will see success against the Huntress if you're good at 360ing in comparison to many other killers. Don't be afraid to be aggressive and run into her as this can often obscure her vision because of the FUV. The more unpredictable you are in your movement, the better you are off. When being chased, you will often dodge to either side. Good Huntress players will pick up on this and throw hatchets into your dodge, in which case you just fake your dodge. You can also perform 360s on the spot, however, the Huntress will get more ground on you if you do, so it's a trade-off. What to expect from the Huntress. Always expect the Huntress to be making random snipes across the map after hooking someone, as many Huntresses are running barbecue and chili. When working on a gen, the Huntress can still hit you even though it looks like you're way below it. You can use this to bait hatches out from the Huntress by staying on the gen and crouching as the hatches come flying in. Also expect the Huntress to be running Bitter Murmur, so take cover when you're close to a completed gen or when all gens are completed as well. Other perks to expect from the Huntress are Nurse's Calling, Amoliers, Iron Maiden and Blood Warden. The hitboxes of the hatchets. The hitboxes of the hatchets are quite big, as demonstrated on the clip here. The hitboxes of the hatchets are more similar to a baseball than an actual hatchet. This is one of the reasons why you often take some shady hits. The hitboxes are so big that you can hit a survivor behind a wall without actually being able to see them. Just to show, this is where the survivor was behind the wall. Combo that with some fairly big hitboxes from the survivors themselves and add some latency and you have a recipe for some crazy hits. The developers did try and fix this by making the hatches more like this, however it meant it was impossible to hit a survivor's arms, as the hitboxes of the survivor doesn't cover them. The changes were then reverted back to the baseball. The hitboxes are very fair when it comes to vertical space, as the hitbox actually line up well with the character model itself. The Huntress can still hit over objects though and snipe you, to a certain degree that is. When you're looping and the Huntress is trying to snipe you, stay as close as you can to the object as possible, as the Huntress won't be able to hit you. The Huntress can work around this by moving further back as there is a drop off on the hatchet. Also, when you're healing, press Ctrl as it lowers your character model hitbox, even though it looks like you're still in the same place. Perks and items to run against the Huntress. Dead Hard is a solid perk to run as it allows you to dodge one hatch for free in most scenarios. Urbanation is another perk that I would like to add, as a Huntress might try and heavily zone you in a short loop where you constantly have to crouch. Object of Obsession is the last perk, as it helps you negate the advantage the Huntress gets from several ore reading perks. As for items, then there's firecrackers and flashlights, which was previously explained, and keys with ore reading abilities. Now the Huntress relies a lot of sniping and predictions, and you can basically negate this with a key with ore reading on it.